Okay, let's go Sunday through the Sunday schedule. Up first.
Well, Thursday. We got to hit that Thursday.
Okay. Oh, the Thursday night.
Yes.
Thanksgiving Day.
The Green Bay Packers traveled to Seattle and took the L 27-24.
Oh, that's it.
Seahawks go to 5-5, staying alive, head above water. Packers fall to 4-5-1.
This was actually a good Thursday night game. I usually get a little concerned about it because sometimes they have some bad teams playing each other. Some guys don't show up, but they really went at it. So Aaron Rodgers came out with Green Bay. He had 332 yards in the air, 2 touchdowns. Aaron Jones did a little damage on the ground with 40 yards and a TD. And Devontae Adams had a gaudy night stat-wise, 10 receptions, 166 yards. But they still didn't have enough for the Seattle Russell Wilsons, as I call them, because Russell making that team go. And he came out, had 225 yards in the air, 2 TDs. Chris Carson helped him out on the ground, 17 carries, 83 yards, and 1 TD. And let's see, their leading catcher or receiver was Doug Baldwin with 7 receptions, 52 yards, and 1 TD. Russell actually took them down the field and scored the go-ahead touchdown to put them up and to ice the game. So that was a well-fought game. They played pretty well. Of course, now the hot seat has gotten a little bit hotter for Green Bay's coach. And there's a little bit of rumbling as to whether or not Aaron Rodgers and the coach are on the same page and if they kind of get along. But with that being said, they're kind of like looking like they might miss the playoffs. Some people seem to think so. They're still kind of within shooting range. But they definitely did not need that loss. This game was going to determine your outcome for your season. You lose Thursday, that might be it.
Right.
And so Seattle stepped up.
On Sunday's games in Atlanta, the Dallas Cowboys improved to 5-5 with a 22-19 win over the Falcons. Falcons keep falling. Very much a disappointing season so far for the Falcons. They had expectations easily of being a playoff team and potentially doing some damage in the playoffs. Now they are 4-6. The Cowboys improved to 5-5, and in that division where nobody really wants to win, the Cowboys could be putting themselves in position for a playoff berth. Joe?
Perhaps. Dak Prescott didn't really have a stat line that would make me think that they would have won this game. If you'd have showed these numbers to me, I said, nah, they lost. He was 22 for 32, 208 yards, no TDs in the air, barely targeted Amari Cooper, their new acquisition. But Ezekiel Elliott was the thing that made the Cowboys go with 23 carries, 122 yards on the ground, 1 TD. And Ezekiel also has 7 receptions in the air, 79 yards. And this is kind of new because Ezekiel really isn't featured in the air. But they added this new wrinkle to the game, and it really helped him out a lot. Matt Ryan on the other side had 291 yards, 1 TD, and 1 interception. And then in the air, Julio Jones did his thing, 118 yards, 1 TD on 6 receptions. But Dallas came down the field, put themselves in field goal range, and hit that go-ahead field goal to end the game. Did you see the game?
No, I missed it. I was at work. I was just following the highlights.
Okay. Yeah, what did you think when you peeped the highlights?
I was surprised that the game was so close. No, I think like that. I was pleasantly surprised because I knew the defense could play. The defense is all the change this year. I kind of knew Julio Jones was going to get his name, and I was interested to see how they contain everybody else. And when I saw the score, as close as it was, I was pleasantly surprised, and I was actually shocked when they actually won the game. Because I had people texting me how Dak was looking at me. He ain't this, he's not that, and the coach is not this, and the coach is not that. So I didn't actually see the game myself, so I couldn't critique his play for that game. But I'm glad we got that win.
his stat lines are so strange to me. To have no touchdown passes, no touchdown runs, and only 200 yards, and to still manage to pull off a win against. Actually, I thought you all would probably score more points because Atlanta's defense isn't that hot. Like everybody does well against their defense because they have so many injuries. But I guess it was just enough.
But our play calling is some garbage, though. I hate the way our coaches call the game.
Too
Like
conservative.
they scared to let them off the leash.
Yeah. When you know what's funny is, first of all, 22 points is an offensive explosion for the Cowboys.
It is.
So
It is.
Let's start there. When you mentioned
Not when they score 40, not when we watch them score 40 against supposedly a top 5 defense. It makes me feel like they're holding back.
right. Well, ironically, he just mentioned that Easy never gets catches.
No.
And that actually was kind of shocking to me because, and the first thing that comes to my mind is that Dak doesn't know how to throw to the flat.
Or either it's the play calling too, because they just want to give Zeke the ball, let him run down the middle.
Yeah, but I mean,
And run, that's it, yes.
he's got to be a check down, though. He's got to be a check down in the pass in the pass progression.
Yeah, but they don't generally use him that way. But this year they said they wanted to use him more that way. But I'll say this game with the 7 catches,
Right.
I think that's probably the best
Yeah,
I've
see,
seen him do.
That's poor play calling because this dude is an excellent receiver out of the backfield.
Yeah.
Right? That's
Mm-hmm.
Eli right is already picked up that you got to throw the ball to Saquon Barkley 10 times.
Yeah. Yeah.
You got to throw the ball to Ezekiel Elliott 10 times.
Yep.
Let him get his 8 catches, his 60 yards, tack that on to his 120 rushing.
But every catch is probably at least 5 yards.
At least.
Right.
'Cause it's
And that's all I'm saying about coaching.
Yeah.
Because they was making Zeke one-dimensional.
Yeah.
I just want, you got 9 people in the box. He's still really trying to run the ball. You're not going to call a pass out to the flat or call a screen play or find some other way of getting the ball. You got 9 people in the box. He's not going to be able to run the ball.
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know if Amari was just a decoy this week or what, but he only saw the ball. He caught the ball 3 times.
Right. I would say it's poor play calling, and I've already given up on Jason Garrett 3 years ago.
Yeah.
And we talk about him almost like every week with the ultra conservative play calling. I mean, 2 games they lost this year, I believe, because they did the wrong thing in close games.
He must have like hacked files from Jerry Jones' computer or something. Because you have those guys just stay there and they hang around. Like, why is he hanging around? Like, he must have some dirt on him because he will not let Jason.
Nah, I can believe his love child. He got that same relationship with him that he had with Tommy Romo.
Yeah.
He need to get over that. Let him go.
Did you hear what Naeem said last week about Tony Romo? He said Tony Romo should be they should bring Tony Romo back for coaching.
For offensive coordinator or QB
Offensive
coach.
coordinator, quarterback
coach.
coach. I mentioned head coach. How would you feel about that?
I don't know about head coach. Maybe quarterback coach. Y'all know who Zach's quarterback coach is right now?
Yeah, we talked about it. What's his name?
Kelly Clemens.
Kellen Clemens,
Yeah.
the former Jets quarterback.
Yeah. The
The
great.
dude we beat out for the shot. Why did you hire him as Zach's quarterback coach?
The great Kellen Clemens.
Yeah. You know what?
Are you serious right now?
Jerry Jones is a control freak.
Yes.
So what that means in terms of human resources is you don't hire people that have the initiative to be great. You hire people that are going to do what you tell them.
Yes.
That are going to stay under your thumb.
Yeah. And that's why Jason Garrett.
That's why Jason Garrett still there. Yeah, fuck it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. That's it. Whatever you say, Jerry. I mean, you know what? You can't knock him. It's giving him longevity. He's been coaching for what? How many years has it been?
It's unbelievable.
It's been a while.
It's been a while. He should have been fired.
How many years was that?
Should've
12?
Been down.
Yeah.
And it's so apparent this year. Like against Houston, the 4th-and-1, when they didn't go for it, Jerry Jones made a statement for it. He's going for 4th-and-1 is every chance he's getting one.
Yeah. Standing there on the sideline.
It's so apparent.
Hey, do what the boss wants, man.
Must be nice.
Hey.
One day I want to buy me a football team and take over as general manager. I would be general manager,
And
head
just
coach.
micromanage everything.
Well, it's going to be like Oakwood flag football. I'm going to be the quarterback.
Even though you're not good enough. Just throw bombs.
Wow.
Oh man. Okay. So the next game.
All right, it's the Panthers and your Lions. Lions came through with a victory. Panthers now with a little bit of a slide, losing 2 in a row. They're still in good position. Lions 20-19 at home over the Panthers. Lions 4-6, Panthers 6-4.
What I'll say about this game, just to start out, they started out with the blueprint that I've discussed every week. Give the ball to Kerryon Johnson, run the ball, work inside out.
But you know why you shouldn't get the ball to Kerryon Johnson? I think it was Lawan or O'Neal that said it.
What did he say?
He's going to get hurt if you try to run it.
Well, you got no choice. You draft
Yeah,
him.
he hurt.
You know, I mean, you can't just.
And he hurt right now. He got hurt at the end of the game.
Yeah, he hurt his knee. He hit his knee on the ground or something like that. I think he had some sort of bone bruise or
How
something.
did he do, though? What were the stats before?
His stats were good, man. He was 15 carries, 87 yards, 1 TD. But then he also
Couple catches, too.
He had 2 catches for 10 yards.
Yeah.
And he was doing some damage, but he just he hurt himself, and then they brought in LeGarrette Blount. And he
2 yards in a cloud of dust.
Oh, literally, his 7 carries for 1 yard.
Oh!
I've been saying the guy. I've been saying he ain't got it, man. You'll see the hole open.
Yeah.
He goes the opposite way. He runs away from the hole.
That dude is such a red flag. Because everybody knows about the 4.4, sub 4.4 40 time, but he could never stick as a regular running back in the NFL because you can't give him the ball 25, 30 yards. He reminds me of the way Herschel Walker used to be, but he's not. Obviously, he's no Herschel Walker.
But Herschel would just run it straight ahead.
But that's what he
LeGarrette
does.
be trying to get his Barry Sanders on.
Trying to dance.
Like, yo, you could be at church. 2 ushers could open the door to get in, and he'll run. He'll run towards a water fountain.
He's going to go to the side door. He's like, nope.
Yeah, try to do a spin move, and then the hole closes.
Right. He's like, no, they're expecting me to come through this hole.
And the reason he gets the touches is because I think the coaching staff told him, we want you to come here, and we're going to give you some shine.
Yeah.
So, whatever. He's going to get the shine now because Kerryon's going to be out for a couple of games.
Yeah.
But to get into the stats, Matt Stafford didn't have a stellar day. He struggled a little bit. He didn't have one of his main weapons there, wide receiver, but he had 220 yards and 1 TD. Kenny Golladay stepped up at 8 receptions, 113 yards, and a touchdown in a winning effort. And I got to give a shout out to the defense because the defense really kept us in the game. I don't know what they did between last week and this week, but they looked a little bit different. They stuffed the run, and they actually covered the pass pretty good. Cam Newton had 357 yards, 3 TDs, and 1 interception. That's actually a very good day for him. Cam also had a couple yards on the ground. But your favorite running back between the tackles, Christian McCaffrey, 13 carries, 53 yards. And then Christian McCaffrey in the air, 6 receptions, 57 yards. And DJ Moore was the one that killed us, man. 7 receptions, 157 yards, 1 TD. So, but the controversial play of the game was they got to the end of the game. The Lions are up 20-19. They just scored a touchdown, the Panthers. And instead of kicking the field goal to tie the game up and just send it to overtime, they decided to go for 2.
Yeah.
And it didn't work. So I think they may be a little overconfident with their defense or offense, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But
I think they made the right call there.
You think so?
Yeah, there's no need to play for a tie on the road. If you can steal the W, take the W, especially at 6-3.
Okay.
Right? At 6-3, now you're at 1 play for 7-3. A loss gets you 6-4.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm going to go for that 1 play, especially if I have Cam and I got McCaffrey.
But they didn't even let Cam use his legs or anything.
Yeah, it was a bad call.
He dropped back, tried to pass the ball, nothing there.
Right,
So
right.
it is what it is.
The Colts, 38-10 over the Titans. Titans fall to 5-5. Colts now improved to 5-5. Colts are on the run.
Nothing like the smooth grooves.
You know what I'm saying?
But we'll get back to the to the score here. Andrew Luck came out, had an amazing day. 283 for 29, 297 yards, 3 TDs. He actually is playing very well. You said Andrew Luck is back. You said this 5 or 6 weeks ago, and I didn't believe it. And they are actually playing pretty good ball. Let's see. In the air, T.Y. Hilton had 9 receptions, 155 yards, and 2 touchdowns. So they were very impressive. On the other side, all you really need to know is that Marcus Mariota got hurt again. He kind of fell on the ground after a tackle, was holding his elbow, flexing his hand. He's had some nerve damage issues, so he just wasn't the same. So they didn't bring him back into the game. Blaine Gabbert came in to finish off the day, and of course you see what the results are with that. The other thing that happened in the first quarter, the defensive coordinator, I think his name is Dean Peace, he was taken to the hospital. I don't know. I don't think that had anything to do with with Andrew Luck's day, but after that, the team kind of fell apart. So that was that.
Colts are charging. They're running up the standings, so making that division very interesting. The Bucks and the Giants played a really good game. Giants get the win, 38-35. They might still think that they're alive because that division is lackluster. 38-35 Giants. They go to 3-7. The Bucks go to 3-7.
Don't look now. Y'all might be back in the mix. Odell's got a little pep in his step. You saw his new commercial that came out last weekend with the Michael Jackson, he was doing all those little dance moves and stuff. I thought about you immediately because I know you're not the hugest Odell fan, but he did very well this week. Had 4 receptions, 74 yards, and a TD. Eli was 17 for 18, 231 yards, 2 TDs. Saquon Barkley on the ground, 27 carries, 142 yards, 2 touchdowns. And in the air, Saquon had 2 catches for 10 yards and another touchdown. I mean, he was very efficient.
Yeah.
On the other side,
We got the caller back.
Fitz magic is done. It's Fizz magic again.
Yeah. Well, they have to go back to Winston.
Yeah, Fitz got snatched and Winston came in and actually brought them back within it was 3 points, but they just couldn't pull out the win in the end. Peyton Barber did have a very good night on the ground for them. 18 carries, 106 yards, 1 TD, and Mike Evans had 120 yards and 1 TD. So they had to put Jameis back in the game, and the word is Jameis will be starting this week coming up. So hopefully Jameis can keep from throwing those touchdown interceptions.
Bucks are 3-7. Jameis has 6 games to get his career on track, or
he's gonna be a backup,
or maybe they'll run him out the league. They'll run you out the league.
Don't
quick.
get me started on that
They'll run you out
because
the
I'm
league.
already complaining about somebody else got picked up today.
Right.
You know.
Right. Hold on. Keaton, do we have you back?
Yeah, but y'all really muffled. I can't
Okay.
understand what you said.
It's low.
He said we sound muffled.
Can't hear you at all now.
All right, you're getting there. We're getting there. A little bit better. No. Or maybe I did, yeah. How's that? Is that better?
So while you're figuring that out, let me go ahead and tell you about the Charlotte Hornets are up 5 on the Boston Celtics right now,
Boston is struggling.
and it's 21 seconds left.
Boston, you know what that is? You can have too much talent.
Uh-huh.
And, you know, it's funny. I saw an article last week about the regression of Jaylen Brown going the other way. That's what happens when you can't get the ball.
Yeah.
That's what happens when you can't get the ball. When you playing 40 minutes as a young player and you don't really get shots.
And sometimes the coach calls plays for you like it's still your rookie year because he has these other guys and he's using them, but not really using you like you should be.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Let's see. The Texans and the Redskins.
Texans and the Redskins. This was another close game. Unfortunately, I think the big story of the day, besides Houston winning, is that Alex Smith went down. Had a really bad, gruesome ankle injury. Best wishes to him. I think he had to have emergency surgery. It was pretty bad.
So, Keaton, are you there?
I'm here, but I can't understand what y'all saying.
He can barely hear us. Okay.
But while you're still trying to,
So I just wanted to get some feedback on the Alex Smith injury and how the Redskins are looking now with that injury.
are you there? can't hear us. But while we're still working on that, he only had 135 yards before he went down and 2 interceptions. He wasn't having the best day, but he did get hurt. Colt McCoy had to come in. Didn't do much except for throw maybe like 1 touchdown. Oh, yeah. Smooth Grooves are back again.
Keep going.
So, Deshaun Watson on the other side had 16 completions on 24 attempts through the air for 208 yards, 1 TD, and 2 interceptions. Lamar Miller helped him out on the ground with 86 yards, no TDs. And then as far as the air is concerned, Kiki Kuti had 5 receptions, 77 yards. Let's see, we got to cover this on the other side. Adrian Peterson, the ageless Adrian Peterson, had 16 carries for 51 yards and had 2 touchdowns. He's definitely eating his Wheaties every week. Jordan Reed had 7 receptions, 71 yards, and 1 TD. So, but anyway, at the end of the day, the Redskins lose one of their integral parts of their team. They spent a little money to try to get him there, and I think this is going to definitely impact their playoff push. And I think it actually opens the division up a little bit further than people thought. The fact they're 6-4, the Eagles are struggling, Giants are surging, Cowboys surging. This division is clearly going to be up for grabs. So the next game we're going to talk about the Steelers and the Jacksonville Jaguars. That was a really good game. Pittsburgh ended up winning 20-16. The Steelers looked horrible in the first half. Ben Roethlisberger had some uncharacteristic turnovers. Jalen Ramsey had some amazing interceptions. And but at the end of the day, second half, Pittsburgh came back. They surged, took the win. Ben ended the day with 314 yards, 2 TDs, 3 interceptions. Antonio Brown did his thing, 5 receptions, 117 yards, 1 TD. And Juju Smith-Schuster had 8 receptions for 104 yards. This was a very devastating loss for the Jacksonville Jaguars because this is a game they needed to be able to make a playoff push. I really think they are a playoff level team. It's just that they had some injuries at the wrong time. You know, A.J. Bouye went down for a couple games. They had Leonard Fournette out, and this was one of his first games back at full strength. And they, even though they played very, very hard, they did not get the win. Blake Bortles only had 104 yards, which this might be his last season. I mean, I think this is the Blake Bortles project is going to be over at the end of the day. I think when this season is done. Leonard Fournette on the ground had 28 carries, 95 yards, and 1 TD. In the air, Leonard Fournette also had 46 yards, and that was pretty much the day for the Jacksonville Jaguars. It did not look very good for them at all. Oh, so on to our next game. We got to see a debut of a player that I'm probably sure you root for a lot, Lamar Jackson.
Well, you know why I root for Lamar Jackson a lot.
Okay.
So, to keep with the theme of me going out on a limb,
Okay.
I don't understand how Lamar Jackson, and no one agrees with me on this. Mm-hmm. I don't understand how Lamar Jackson was not the number 1 pick in the draft last year.
Okay.
And I believe that ESPN created a narrative around him not being a quarterback.
Okay.
That got everybody to back away from him. Now, why should he be the number 1 pick? You don't get a quarterback that's standing 6'1", 6'2", 6'3". He's got the requisite height.
Mm-hmm.
With, as described by draft scouts, has, I don't remember exact words they used, but it was basically a rocket arm.
Okay.
Okay? So sub 4.40, rocket arm, good size, dominated his league, the ACC, for 3 seasons, if not 2 seasons. Mm-hmm. Okay? Deshaun Watson could not even really get any hardware in the ACC with Lamar Jackson there.
Okay.
All right? but for some reason, he's not the best quarterback in the class. Baker Mayfield goes number 1, and Lamar Jackson falls that far in the draft. I don't recall ever a time where a player had those things going for him.
Mm-hmm.
Major conference, dominant, the size, the arm, and then you add the ridiculous speed and running ability to that package, and you're not taking him number 1.
Right.
I don't ever see that happening. You know what I mean? So whatever the narrative that ESPN put out there caused GMs to let this guy slide, and they're all going to pay because I'm losing Mike, because he's too talented, and just the fact that you're starting him is going to give you, if you start Lamar Jackson as your quarterback, your starting quarterback, you are guaranteed to be a top 5 rushing team in the NFL.
Right. Of course.
Guaranteed.
Okay.
All right? If he gets the passing game, and that's with him doing about 50 yards a game.
Okay.
I couldn't fathom that they were going to do what they did yesterday with him.
Right.
200 yards rushing, 50 yards passing, a touchdown on the ground, a touchdown in the air, and you're set.
He
with a
had
play like that.
117 yards
Right.
on 17 attempts yesterday. And Marvin Lewis said, you can't – a quarterback's, in so many words, is not going to last long just running around.
Right.
At some point he's got to throw, but he said he did it to us today on the ground.
Right. What were his stats? Because he did throw.
So he did. He was 13 for 19,
Perfect.
150 yards in
Beautiful.
the air.
Beautiful.
And he didn't have any TDs, but he had 1 interception.
And that was a really bad pick. He tried to do too much. That's one thing I noticed even in the preseason. He does try to do too much
Okay.
on every play.
Okay. And then, of course, the 27 carries on the ground, 117 yards. But then also the other thing that happened, Gus Edwards had 17 carries for 115 yards.
And you know why?
Because, like you said,
Exactly.
it opened up the running. Everybody's so busy watching Lamar
Exactly.
that he gets loose. And so Willie Snead, I think he had 5 receptions for 51 yards. Now, what I can say about the game, the part that I saw, which I saw most of because I was kind of flipping back and forth to the Lions game too, I don't doubt he has that rocket arm like you're talking about. I think each week that he continues to play, the playbook will start to open for him because this team was designed for their original quarterback that they have, Joe Flacco. Right, so now you've got to revamp the whole offensive scheme. You've got to make it a little bit more simple for him to understand. But then as you continue to put new wrinkles in, then maybe you can have a guy that can do some damage for you by the end of the year. Because I don't want to say it was Tim Tebow because his arm is better than Tim Tebow.
Not even close.
But they called the game like the way they would do it for Tebow. So it was a lot more simple styles, just a pro style, block and then let him run.
Right. It's not even close.
Yeah.
I remember how they described his arm. It was he can throw 70 yards with a flick of the wrist. With a wrist.
Oh, he can throw. There's no
That's how
doubt
they
he can
describe
throw.
the arm.
It's just that I didn't really see him drop back and just hit somebody, like comfortably, like you would assume,
Right.
Yeah.
But I think he has that because if you look at how he played in Louisville,
He can do
he
it.
was less of a I'm going to get out of here and run. Yesterday, he was just out. He was just gone.
But Louisville was a pro style offense, right?
pro stylish.
Okay.
But they act like they have to rebuild the offense for him. And like every quarterback that's coming into the NFL today, none of them are playing pro style.
Yeah.
Okay, Baker Mayfield, that Big 12 offense is just a joke.
Yeah.
But it's like they're making obstacles for him that they don't create for the other quarterbacks,
Yeah.
and it's like they want to see him not succeed, and it's like no, this is legit. This is the dream quarterback. When you draw it up, this is the dream.
Yeah.
The arm, the speed, the leadership, the brain, everything. This kid has everything. All right, and I could be totally wrong. It could be a total Thabit situation, but I think he's going to make everyone that passed on him regret it, especially my favorite team, the New York Jets, that had a shot at him, but yet.
Well, here's the other thing that's good for him. the coaching staff there, they worked with other quarterbacks with his skill set, the leg, the arm. So they're going to help develop him.
Yeah.
You know, and he gets to do it on the fly with a good defense.
Right.
A lot of times you don't have a good defense to back
Hey,
you up.
You can win like this.
Yeah.
You can win like this. If you can play defense, and if you can – okay, so he's probably going to get hurt, and he's probably going to throw picks because he's just a little bit too reckless. He doesn't know when to get down. He's trying to get an extra yard or two.
It's like an RG3 situation.
You can't go for an extra yard or two when you're the quarterback. And, I mean, he's doing it on, you know, 1st and 10, he gets 8, but he wants the other 2. You can't really do that.
Marvin Lewis thinks he's going to get hurt too. That's what he said.
Yes.
But on the other side, just to hit on the Cincinnati Bengals stats, Andy Dalton, he had a decent day. Could have been better. 211 yards, 2 TDs. Of course, he didn't have A.J. Green, so that always affects his numbers. As far as receiving goes, Tyler Boyd had 71 yards in the air for them. But they didn't really do a lot to even really talk about. So they pretty much are they're heading in the wrong direction in Cincinnati.
The Raiders and the Cardinals, 23-21. Raiders get the win. 2-8 Raiders, Cardinals 2-8. This is a battle for the number 1 draft pick.
You know, the Raiders celebrated when they won this like they won the Dorito Bowl.
Wow.
You know, I mean, the fans were just like, oh, man, they were so happy, tearing up because it's been a tough season for them. I think they really expected to do a lot better than what they're doing now. But they won last week by 2 points. They kind of got lucky, I guess, in a losing effort. Josh Rosen had 136 yards, 3 TDs, and 2 interceptions. David Johnson had a good day again. Byron Leftwich, you know, actually is putting a good game plan together for their centerpiece. He had 25 carries, 137 yards. Christian Kirk had 77 yards in the air on 3 receptions and had a TD. And then your boy, Larry Fitzgerald, our boy, 2 receptions, 23 yards, but he had 2 touchdowns. And I do have a little issue because we talked about this before. He only had 4 targets.
Wow.
So if he'd had 10 targets, then we'd probably be looking at least 100 yards and maybe more.
How many pass attempts did Rosen have?
Well, Rosen only threw the ball 20 times, so I guess that's that.
He should still get 10 of those.
But this is the Raiders they were playing against too, though. So I expected a little bit more. But anyway, be that as it may. Derek Carr on the other side had 2 TDs of his own. He had 192 yards passing. And in the air, they had a gentleman named Marcel Aitman, 4 receptions, 50 yards. And that's pretty much it right there. So everybody was happy. John Gruden was pumping his fist. They were celebrating. But, you know, neither one of these teams is really going anywhere. You're pretty much just playing for your fan base at this point and trying to prepare yourself with the people that you have for that draft pick that's soon to come.
In a game that does matter, or for the Chargers anyway, they took a loss at home versus the Broncos, 23-22. Broncos 4-6. Chargers fall to 7-3. Chargers still very solid footing in terms of a playoff spot. 23-22 Broncos.
Chargers putting it together, man. Their defense is pretty good. Phillip Rivers is looking pretty good, but they just did not do what they needed to do to pull this game off and get this win. The Broncos came out victorious. Case Keenum had 205 yards, no TDs, no interceptions. Philip Lindsay has 79 yards on the ground and 2 TDs. Cortland Sutton had 3 receptions in the air and 78 yards. It's just interesting to see these stat lines, and he's like, man, they still pulled off the win anyway. But they came out, the defense played pretty good, and they pulled off that W. On the other side, Melvin Gordon, he had 18 carries for 69 yards. Phillip Rivers had 401 yards through the air, 2 TDs, 2 interceptions. And Keenan Allen had 9 receptions, 89 yards, and 1 touchdown.
The New Orleans Saints improved to 9-1, best record in the NFL, with a 48-7 drubbing of the Philadelphia Eagles.
Teabagging of the week.
48-7. Saints with the victory. Eagles fall to 4-6. Saints improve to 9-1.
Drew Brees just makes you want to take your stuff and go home. You know, hey guys, you want to play football today? No, Drew.
No.
Not today.
Not with
you. Anybody else, it's not going to be worth it. I mean, they put it on them as efficiently as you can possibly do it. Drew Brees, 22 for 30, 363 yards, 4 TDs. Mark Ingram had 16 carries, 103 yards, 2 touchdowns. Alvin Kamara had 13 carries, 71 yards. But on the other side, in the air, they put one of their spare parts out there, and I guess he obviously was featured based upon what the defense gave them. Traquan Smith had 10 receptions, 157 yards, and 1 TD.
Who would have thunk it?
Yeah, exactly. But then the other yardage that stands out is Michael Thomas on 4 receptions, 92 yards, 1 TD. It's like they just figure out different ways to give it to you. And then Adam Kamara, what he didn't do on the ground, he did in the air, 37 yards in the air and a touchdown. You know, so they just poured on, man. And then the Eagles, people are giving the Eagles a hard time, making it seem like they didn't show up, they didn't play hard. Dude, this is happening every week.
This is watching the game at home. And so there's a limited number of possessions in football.
Yes.
Okay, it might be 6, 7, 8.
Yeah.
Okay, if you're efficient, it might be 7 or 8. If you do not score every time you get the ball versus the
you're done.
The Saints right now, you're done. So
Yeah.
literally in the first quarter, you know, once they didn't score their first time or the second time after the Saints scored, that's game, because there's no way you're going to stop them from putting 5 or 6 touchdowns on the board.
Mm-hmm.
And sure enough, that's exactly what they did. And it was done.
It's crazy. Carson Wentz kind of regressed a little bit. He had 3 interceptions, 156 yards in the air. And there's really not anything of note to discuss otherwise with the Philadelphia Eagles, besides they're going to have to go back to the drawing board. Jim Schwartz, you could just see his face. It's just like, what do we do? And, of course, they do have some injuries in their secondary, too. So that it's like the perfect storm. They got waxed.
All right, in the NFC North, a very big battle. The Chicago Bears on Sunday Night Football with a victory over the Vikings, 25-20. Bears now 7-3, and they are 5-1 at home, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
Vikings fall to 5-4-1.
This is a game that everybody wanted to see, because some people think the Bears might be pretenders, but this game showed everybody that they can give it to you on both sides of the ball. Mitch Trubisky didn't have like an amazing game as far as the stats go, but he still didn't do it. Well, he did enough to get that W. 1 TD, 2 interceptions on 165 yards passing. Jordan Howard had 63 yards on the ground, and Mitch Trubisky also added yardage on the ground, 43 yards alone by himself. The other thing that's interesting about the Bears, they have a bunch of guys that, you know, you keep hearing these names every time they catch a ball or they score a touchdown. They're not household names that you're used to hearing, but they all do work. Taylor Gabriel has 7 receptions. Allen Robinson, 3 receptions. Anthony Miller, 2 receptions. Tariq Cohen, 3 receptions. All these guys are putting in work, and at the end of the day, they're in the right places based upon the Coach Nagy, doing a really great job teaching these guys where they need to be. And they're pulling out wins. And we don't need to say anything about the defense and Khalil Mack. It just is what it is. We know what Khalil can do. On the other side, Kirk Cousins struggled a little bit. 262 yards, 2 TDs, 2 interceptions. On the ground, the Vikings did actually barely anything. I mean, Dalvin Cook had 12 yards. Kirk Cousins had 5 yards. Latavius Murray had 5 yards. That's nothing. They got shut down on the ground. Stephon Diggs did his thing, 13 receptions, 126 yards, 1 TD. And Adam Thielen had 7 receptions and 66 yards.
All right, I'm looking at the NFL standings.
Mm-hmm.
In the NFC, New Orleans is number 1 at 9-1. The Rams are also 9-1. They can improve on that tonight and take over that first spot. The Bears are in the 3 spot. Third seed, division leading at 7-3, and then the Redskins at 6-4 have to figure something out how to stay on top there. Carolina and Minnesota are sitting in the 2 wild card spots as of the moment. Carolina at 6-4, Minnesota at 5-4-1. All right, so Bears very solid in that division right now in terms of leading it. Carolina's spot seems kind of safe as the first wild card.
Mm-hmm.
Minnesota is the second wild card at 5-4-1. But after that, Seattle 5-5, Dallas 5-5. All right. Depending on what happens with Washington, we should expect them to fall out.
They're gonna fall
And
because,
Dallas,
because they signed Mark Sanchez as a backup.
mm,
That's don't even get us started with that. You know, Mark. Go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off. I just ruined your whole segment.
man.
Why do these same people keep getting jobs? He's home sitting on the couch. Like, you just let that go.
He's horrible,
Just let it go.
man.
And they said, oh, he's going to be reunited with a lot of guys that he knew from the Jets. When
That's
he comes
not
to
a
the
good
Redskins.
thing. That is not a good thing.
I don't understand. I'm very confused about that. But, you know.
And you know what? They traded up for him, just like they did for Sam Darnold. I'm not, I don't want to make any judgments on Sam Darnold yet, but they traded up for him just like they did. And then they gave him an extension. So they buried themselves with him twice. And he was never good.
Now, I'm looking at something while you're doing that. I pulled up the Giants schedule because I was curious. Odell said they can run the table. I don't think they can run the table, but let me tell you what who they play next week. So next week they've got the Eagles. The week after that they have the Bears. That's a loss, right? We just go ahead and say their defense is too good. I don't. You might catch fire and get lucky, but I wouldn't bet on it, right? Then you've got the Redskins. They're struggling, right? You can get that game. You got the Titans. And if you have Blaine Gabbert still playing and say Mariota's out, anything can happen there. You got the Colts, who are playing pretty decent, but you can that's not a bad situation. And then it sets you up for that big game end of the season versus the Cowboys. It could mean something.
It could.
Yeah.
One of them might be trying to get to 8 wins to get into the playoffs.
Yes, and it's possible. It's
very
definitely
possible.
it's definitely possible. So we'll see.
The Giants did look good this week, but it was the 49ers.
No, Bucks. The Bucks.
Right.
But still, you can't discount that because they've played other teams that were not up to par. I don't want to call anybody sorry, and they looked worse than them.
Yeah.
So if you beat the team you're kind of supposed to beat, then whatever.
Yeah. Their offense definitely looks much improved. And I think Barkley has a lot to do with it.
Barkley does have a lot to do with
Barkley
it.
has a lot to do with it.
Because I said at the beginning of the season, I said Eli is going to have the first pressure release valve that he's ever had in his career. That check down dude when there's nothing down the field.
Right. He had Tiki, but
he did have Tiki, but this dude is not Tiki. Like one-on-one, he's hard to guard.
Tiki was special.
Tiki's special, but you're going to see this. Saquon's going to be, I think,
Yeah.
he's going to be up there by the time his career is said and done. So you give him the ball on an island with one dude guarding him with a screen pass or a dump off play, like I said, 5, 6, 7, 10 yards every time.
It's funny. We don't ever talk about the evolution of the running back position, but all these guys can catch now.
Oh, yeah, you have to.
All these guys can catch.
You have to. You just can't run between the tackles anymore. You've got to know how to do that.
A lot of them don't run between the tackles, but they can catch.
Yeah.
So it's it's just the evolution, further proof of how the passing game has really taken precedence in the NFL over running. Even with the running backs, they look for running backs that can catch and run after the catch more than they look for guys that can carry the ball 25, 30 times.
And they're warming up to the quarterback that can run a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's super hot. Everybody has one.
Yeah.
Everyone has one.
Yeah. They
Right?
warmed up to that.
So Philadelphia 4-6. Lions are still alive. Atlanta's still alive. Green Bay still alive. Giants, Bucks, Arizona, and San Francisco all 2 and 3 wins. So we'll see how that shakes out. But unless you are the Saints, the Rams, really those are the only 2 teams that have such solid position that they can lose next week. Everyone else is in a position where they have to win to keep their cushion or to stay alive. So,
And the Lions have the Bears this week. So, I mean, we got the Bears. We've got to play Green Bay twice. It's a tough road for us. So
it is, in that division.
Yeah.
That division, the Lions are the worst team. So
It's still open, but it's the way we've been playing, I'm not betting on coming out of there on top.
In the AFC, Kansas City sitting on top, 9-1, depending on the action tonight, potentially going to 10-1 or 9-2, but still solidly in that spot.
Mahomes.
Steelers have, since a rough start to the season, have taken off. They're 7-2-1 right now and really hitting on all cylinders in the second spot. New England is in the third spot at 7-3, and the Texans 7-3, really holding firm and taking the bull by the horn and getting W's.
Yeah.
Chargers and the Ravens are now holding the 2 wild card spots. Chargers 1, Ravens 2. So this new look Ravens might have a chance. Here's what's below them. Cincinnati going in the wrong direction.
Yes.
Miami really playing uphill, probably playing over their head this season.
Yeah.
Colts, we still don't know, but obviously much improved and on a win streak.
Yes.
Titans 5-5. We don't know which Titans are going to show up from week to week, if Mariota is going to play or not. Denver 4-6, Cleveland 3-6, Buffalo 3-7, Jacksonville.
It's done.
One hit wonder.
Done.
Now it's over.
Done. That's because they're
3-7.
hanging on to Blake Bortles. I said it from the beginning.
Right.
Can't hang on to that guy.
Jets 3-7, Oakland 2-8. The Jets is just a sad situation because I can't even depend on them to do the right thing with a top pick.
Yeah. They were infatuated with the quarterback. We've seen this before.
It's chasing the next Broadway Joe.
That's it. That's it.
I think it's been that way for 40 years.
And if the Giants can pull off what I think they're capable of pulling off and slide into a playoff spot, they managed to draft them a franchise-changing running back, and they potentially could still draft their future quarterback.
Okay. Let's go to a poll question. This is an impromptu poll that we're going to hold for the next couple of weeks. You're going to get to answer first. As of today, who's going to win the Super Bowl? From what you see today.
Man, I got to tell you, it's tough.
And I'm writing it down, too.
Man, no preparation. I can't even think this thing through.
What's there to think? You know the NFL back and front.
Okay, can I tell you who's going to go first? All right. I'm thinking New Orleans is definitely, I think they're going to probably take the Rams out because and when you can score 50 points a week, like even if you score 30, that's still a blowout on a lot of days, right? If they can hang on to that home field advantage and bring people to the dome, they're going to mop everybody up. If they got to go outside and play somewhere, I don't think they can do it. But I'm going to still stick with them. I'm going to say New Orleans, and this is kind of going against what I've been saying all season. I thought that the Rams were the best team, but New Orleans looks really, really good. I probably lean towards them winning the championship.
New Orleans does lead the NFL in points for 378, 239 points against. Rams 335 points for, 231 points against.
If the Rams can get their secondary together, they can get in the mix. But as I see it right now, I think New Orleans is probably the best team in the league. Kansas City's right behind them as they just throw another touchdown pass. Kansas City is dangerous.
Right.
Kansas City just had a turnover. The Rams ran it in, scored. They got the ball back, ran the ball down the field on them. Kansas City scores before halftime, 13 seconds till halftime, 23-23.
Wow.
Crazy. So I think Kansas City can be right there in the mix, but I don't ever want to discredit Belichick either because I think they got to make a second half push, and they can probably beat just anybody on that side of the table.
New England is actually 5-0 at home, 2-3 on the road.
Yeah. Yeah, they took a couple early losses they probably shouldn't have taken, but they're going to be ready. After this bye week, They're gonna be trouncing people. Watch.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm going to take as the Super Bowl
Are
champion.
you gonna go out on a limb?
Ooh, I'm thinking about going out on a limb right here. Ooh. Yeah.
Is that painful? You only got so many choices.
All right. This is going to be crazy.
Oh boy.
I'm going to go with the Chicago Bears on some getting into the tournament and making a run type stuff. The defense is very good,
Okay.
all right, on a week-to-week basis.
Okay.
The pass rush can come up and be completely dominant,
Yes.
you know, where you could even plan for it, but because they have that one special guy, it turns everybody else into a monster. So you get into a one win to move on, a loss sends you home situation, and they catch a lead on you, 21-14 in the third quarter, and now they let those goons go.
But no lead is safe with Drew Brees. Drew Brees can struggle for 3 quarters and explode for
No lead
3
is
TDs.
safe for Drew Brees, but a team that's going to defend all the way against Drew Brees, where they have to punt 3 times. Right now, they don't have to punt. If you can make them punt 3 times, you can be in the game, and I don't love their defense. And I think Trubisky is figuring out how to win games. Like you said, it's just a mixture of different receivers that he finds every week.
Yeah.
He always gets his 50 to 100 yards rushing on top of it. They're really, really hard to beat. And on paper, no, it's not them. But in a game situation, 60 minutes, I think they can beat anyone. So I'm going to go out on the limb and pick the Bears.
I think you out there
Super Bowl.
because all they got to do, I mean, as good as the Bears defense is, all they got to do is go to a no huddle. They'll run them all around. Even if they don't score in the first half, at some point they're going to break.
Like I said, make them punt twice and you win. Baby Chalk, who you have as a Super Bowl winner as of this point? Who you picking? As of this point, who you picking? Is your mic on?
Man, they owe you a deep dish pizza in Chicago. Because to go out on a limb like that,
I'm going out on the limb.
yeah, I'm not with you on that one.
Who do you think is going to win the Super Bowl? If you were to pick somebody as of today,
As of
I
today,
feel like the Rams have a better chance of winning over the Bears.
Saints already beat the Rams,
Yeah, but barely.
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 But if I'm taking Goff in a shootout, Goff versus Breeze.
But can the Bears even make it?
No, it's not going to be a shootout with the Bears, is what I'm telling you. They're going to make them punt 3 or 4 times, and that's going to be enough to get them in the game.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, can they even get past whoever they got to get past to get to New Orleans? That's going to be a struggle for them, too. They can beat the Vikings. They can beat Carolina. They can beat all those guys. But I don't know if they can beat the Rams. You think the Bears can beat the Rams?
Yes.
Okay.
Points against for the Bears right now, 195 points against. That is 3rd in the NFL. No, in the NFC. 3rd lowest. Dallas is actually at 190. Dallas is the lowest, 190, and then the Bears are right behind them, 195. Okay, so in the entire NFL, that number is 4th. In the NFC, that is 2nd. So something's happening on their defense. Okay, so the fact that at this point you've given up less than 200, only a handful of teams have done that. So you got to look at this team's defense as a very good defense in this year's NFL that can cause trouble. And like I said, force them to punt 3-4 times and you can be in the game. Are you going to make a Super Bowl pick? Okay, all right. We're going to give you 1 week to think about it. No, you don't have to watch it. We're going out on a limb.
Now I'm gonna tell you this real quick. Those stats that you spit out, they were good, but I gotta kind of refute you a little bit because I'm looking at the teams that they've played all year. They haven't really played anybody that's like a real challenge. Like for example, okay, they beat the Packers. That's cool. Aaron Rodgers, Seahawks, Cardinals, Bucks, Dolphins, Patriots are beatable. Jets are definitely beatable. The Bills, Lions, Vikings, like those are. That's an easy schedule.
Yeah.
But now you're going to start to see who they have now. They have the Lions, then they've got the Giants. Those are 2 more wins. But then they got the Rams. That's going to be the game you want to see. That's going to be the gauge to tell if they're ready to maybe go to that next level. And then they got Green Bay, which, they can beat you anytime, 49ers, and then the Vikings. They got a nice, easy schedule this year. That's a tasty schedule. That's Krispy Kreme.
That might be able to get – well, they're not going to catch first or second seed.
No, they won't. They won't.
Right? But if they're solid in the 3rd seed, and now – okay, so the problem would become beating the Rams –
and they're going to have to beat
and then beating
New
the
Orleans
Saints
too.
the following week to get to the Super Bowl.
It's going to be hard.
It's going to be hard, but it can be done.
Yeah. On any given Sunday.
On any given Sunday. This would be any given January. We would love to hear what you guys out there think. Who do you have right now based on what we know today? Okay.
I got the Saints.
Who is going to win the Super Bowl? All right, so I want everybody to go out on the limb. Leave a comment below. Don't forget to share this video. Tell your friends about the podcast. You can download the podcast at gsradionj.com. You can catch us on YouTube. Full podcast is on YouTube. And additionally, a bunch of video clips on YouTube. Subscribe at Council Sports Talk on YouTube. Follow on Twitter at Council Talk. On Instagram at Council_Sports Talk 2 Joes.